Welcome to part two of Mysteries with a History. The vast expanse of the universe harbors countless enigmas, safeguarding its secrets and reminding us of the awe inspiring nature of creation. In this episode, we delve into a section of the most captivating mysteries that continue to baffle and intrigue even the most brilliant minds of our time. These enigmatic phenomena provide curiosity, challenge our understanding, and inspire us to push the boundaries of knowledge. Hello and welcome to another episode of Mysteries with a History, where you'll be taken on a wild ride into the unknown, the strange, and the mysterious. Like you, I have questions, and like you, I want answers. And with each episode together, we will peel away the layers to look for the truth. Last week was such a jam packed show with great information that we had to do a part two. So let me bring in my co host, Jimmy Church of Fade to Black Radio. Jimmy, happy Thursday.
You are bad, man. You see that grin?
But you see how I dragged it out?
You-
Jimmy Church of Fade to Black.
I was eating fried chicken, everybody, and I had
There
to
you
spit
go.
it out to get on the air. Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing? Is everybody in a great mood? Today is my Friday. And I look forward to Thursdays. It's also the first day of the month. Today is June 1st.
I know.
Halfway through is this like fish? Are we in the second half of the year, or is that July?
No, it's
Is it
June because there's 12 months, right? June is the 6th month.
right? So then
So we're halfway through the year already. And I just remember like snow felt like a few days ago. And then here we are for summer.
July, August, September, October, November, December. No, I think it's the end of June. I think July 1st would be right. Man, I get
Dude,
confused.
don't use math with me. Math and I, we are not friends. We don't get along. I can just do the bare math when it comes to coupons at the grocery store.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I have electronic coupons on my phone. It does all the thinking for me. Here's another confusing thing, though. 7 days in the week, right?
Okay.
It never adds up. It never adds up. You get to Thursday and you're like, okay, 7 days from now is it Friday or is it Thursday?
Dude, don't play these games with me. Costa Monster, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Do appreciate that. But Jimmy, we have a lot to cover, and these are not a part of the enigmatic phenomena that we'll be covering today, like how many days are in a year and months and things like this.
Enigmatic. You've used that word twice now. It's a strong word.
It's a strong word, but it's very appropriate for today when it comes to the mysteries of the
100%.
universe. And last week, we really took a deep dive into black holes, white holes, hypothetical matter. And I was saving kind of near the end of my notes that we didn't have time to cover to look into the aspects of extraterrestrial life, extraterrestrial intelligence, and bringing that in. So let's start with that, Jimmy, and hearing probably what many people are so tired to hear when it comes to the word, and that's the Fermi paradox. But there's a lot more to it than just the mere question, what are your thoughts on the Fermi paradox? Because there's a few other theories and ideas that contradict it, and or it also could potentially lift it up a little bit higher. So if you know the name but you're not too familiar with it, you are in for a ride today. I'm going to share my screen here as a visual aid so that we can get straight into it. And I really liked this image. I was like, this is an awesome image when it comes to the Fermi paradox. And Jimmy is typing some stuff up.
We get to 400 likes today. I'll throw in $50 to the RV fund.
Rock on. Thank you.
Okay. We get to 500 likes. I'll throw in $100.
Whoa.
Okay.
Cassidy,
So
thank you so much.
Let's see this go. Let's see this run. Let's see this. I didn't type that, by the way. Somebody else did, but they obviously think that, I'm Daddy Warbucks. But I will do it. We're getting close to a purchase of the RV, and I can't wait for this. You're right about this Fermi paradox graphic. We have different versions of the Fermi paradox today that we're going to dive into that I don't even think that Christina was aware of. Okay, wait. I'm going to go sideways for a second. This is what Christina did to me today. This is what she did. Okay, it is 2:30 Pacific time. 1 hour ago, she sends me the list of subjects. And I said, did you study all of this? Do you have your stuff done? Do you expect me to be to be the Encyclopedia Britannica in 60 minutes? Church, come on, man. I'm ready. Yeah, I know you're ready. You sent this to me right now. I'm looking and I'm like, are you kidding me? She goes, you know all this stuff. I said, okay, all right, let's just go. So we do have a lot to cover because of Gomez today, but she did all of the research and jumping into this. And the reason why I bring this up, I see where her brain is flowing right in this list of things, but I don't think she realized the connections.
You're talking like I'm not here.
Of the yeah, I know, right, of what, because when it comes to the Fermi paradox, Christina and everybody, I have lots of books on it, and I do a lot of studying. Once you just open up the statement by Enrico Fermi, you suddenly unroll a list of literally hundreds of answers, hundreds of additional questions, and then underneath that, hundreds of answers and questions to those answers and questions that originate from there. There are books this thick written on the Fermi paradox, and it is just a crazy subject to get into, which involves Christina's list to me today. And I saw it. I saw how it just unrolled itself. But it's crazy, isn't it, Christina? As you look into one answer, one theory of why or why not with the Fermi paradox, what do you get underneath that? Another 10, 20, 30 things, and then it spider webs out from there, doesn't it? It's crazy.
Pretty much. And so let's get into that because we don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of things to cover. Severshot, thank you so much for the super sticker and supporting the RV fund. I do appreciate that. So I will give the black and white version while you give the more colorful version.
Okay.
So the Fermi paradox poses the question: if intelligent life is abundant in the universe, why haven't we detected any signals or evidence of their existence? And despite the vast number of potentially habitable planets, the absence of widespread contact or communication with extraterrestrial civilizations remains a mystery, fueling speculation and theories about possible explanations. And as Jimmy had mentioned, the Fermi paradox was named after physicist Enrico Fermi, and it arises from the apparent conflict between the high likelihood of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations and the absence of a definitive evidence or contact with such civilizations. So, considering the vast number of stars and galaxies in the universe, many similar to our own sun, the expectation would be that intelligent life could have emerged and developed elsewhere, leading to the possibility of communication or interaction. But this paradox is encapsulated in Fermi's question: where is everybody? Posed during a conversation about extraterrestrial life. And various explanations have been put out to address this paradox, but this is something that a lot of people go to when they want to have a debate in the UFO community, or if they have just like any mere interest when it comes to space. They bring up the Fermi paradox, and I can probably assume that hundreds of astrophysicists, physicists, astronomers, whenever they're doing an interview of any kind, the host is going to ask, "What are your thoughts on the Fermi paradox?" And they're probably rolling their eyes. They're like, "Oh my goodness, give me a break here." But it is something that we do have to talk about because it's been held so dear to so many people's hearts since the question first came up by Enrico Fermi.
Uh, and here's the thing. A lot like this show, and a lot like how you and I communicate, right, and ask questions. Okay, that's what happened in 1950. So they're all hanging out in New Mexico, and they Los Alamos, and they're in the Los Alamos employee cafeteria. Okay,
Gotta be there.
right, and they go through the lunch line. You know what I mean? They're getting their coconut cream pie and their meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and they go and they sit down at the table and they start fighting, right? Because at that time in 1950, UFOs were everywhere. It was headlines, it was this, and it was ET is flying saucer, right? And so Enrico and his buddies, specifically, Edward Teller and Herbert York and some other guys, they do what physicists do. They fight. And so as they're sitting in the cafeteria, and this animated conversation about flying saucers is going down, they start discussing how they're getting here. And the conversation then turns to they've got to have figured out faster than light travel. All right, the universe is too. It's the same discussions that you and I have on this show.
Right.
And so Enrico, by all of the reports, he stands up, throws his coconut cream pie across the, and stands up and yells, "Well, then, if there's so much life out there, where is everybody?" And now, the exact quote is uncertain to this day. All right. But that is the gist of it. If there's so much life in the universe, where is everybody? There have been many attempts now. So when you look at it like that, with all of the headlines that were going on, there he is, around the country and around the world, and all these reports of flying saucers. Think about what's going on today. Imagine back then in 1950. Science is evolving and things are happening very quickly. These questions were on the front of everybody's minds, including Enrico, Edward Teller, and Los Alamos. You have to think about what was going on there: the atomic bomb and research and radar and missiles and trying to get to the moon and all of this stuff is happening. And Enrico was frustrated with this. Well, since then, there have been many attempts to resolve the Fermi paradox. If there's so much life out there, where is everybody? And one of them is suggesting that intelligent extraterrestrial beings are actually extremely rare, right? That we may not be the only intelligent life out there, and intelligent is a paradox in itself when it comes to the human race. But it's just that it's just so rare that we may be the only ones, and maybe there's just a couple. Maybe that's why nobody's visiting. There's that hypothesis, and then the other one that lays out there. Now, remember, each one of these has another 50, 100, or 1,000 different answers and questions underneath it. But another one is like, maybe the lifetime of civilizations is just very short, right? That you get to a certain point in technology, like us right now, where we are, and we have the destructive power to kill ourselves like that.
Yeah.
That's it. And humans never existed, right? And just in a few thousand years, right? And since the dawn of civilization in Giza or Mesopotamia, right? So 5,000 years later, we're now killing ourselves off. Is this the same thing with every other intelligent civilization out there, that they get to a certain point and they just kill themselves off, or they burn up their resources, or disease, or something something catastrophic, a comet hits their planet, or an asteroid, maybe another alien invasion, I don't know. But that civilizations are actually short-lived, there's that. um uh I think that once you start to examine every single one of these, um they don't. I think that today, Enrico wouldn't say that. I don't think he would have the same opinion. I think that there's enough evidence now that we're visited all of the time. Yesterday, what happened yesterday? NASA had an all day press conference on UAPs. So to get this kind of attention, we've had two hearings now in Congress. We've had what seems to be a daily press conference with the Department of Defense, right? And that's on the official capacity. That doesn't even involve our community or this show. So I don't think that Enrico would say it today. I would say that. What do you mean? Where is everybody? They're here every single day, and we have plenty of evidence of it. So when you look at the Fermi paradox, let me put this back to you. That's my colorful version of it. When you hear it today, do you think it applies, Christina? Do you think that Enrico wouldn't have the same opinion today? He wouldn't cast about coconut cream pie in the company cafeteria?
So much has happened in the last 70 years, and a lot more people are open minded to the mere possibilities of extraterrestrial intelligence. But now, is it visiting Earth? There's a handful of people that say yes, absolutely. Those that have experienced it allegedly for themselves. But I think your average person, with the vastness of space, the information that we have when it comes to our exploration, and having an understanding that the universe is about approximately 13.8 billion years old, there would have to be life. Especially now that we have a good understanding, a better understanding, let me just say it like that, of the types of stars that are out there, potential planets that could harbor life based on those stars, being in the habitable zone, all of these different factors. That do I wish Dr. Fermi would have a different idea? I sure do hope so. Do I know for a fact? No, he could have been the very stubborn type, and he could have said, "This is my thought. I'm going to stick to this to the day I die for several hundred years afterward." So I don't know how his mentality would be if he got a time machine and was placed in the present day. I would like to think that it would change. Like for the majority of us, when I speak to people in my age range, when I go onto campus and I kind of just like I prod certain questions at times. What do you think of extraterrestrials? What do you think of do you think that they're visiting us? And a lot of them, they just shrug their shoulders and they're like, yeah, duh. And then I try to prod them further. Do you have any information on that? Do you know of any particular cases? And they're like, yeah, Roswell. And I'm like, well, what year was that? Yeah, I don't know. This is getting really boring, Christina. I got to go to class now. And
But do
so
you think, let me, this is such an interesting point. Do you think that in your generation, that it is just an assumption now that we're being visited and I've got other stuff to think about? Of course there's life in the universe, and of course we're being visited by ET, and people don't of your generation, that they don't spend as much time wondering about it because it's already resolved in their mind.
I have to agree with the majority of things that you said. There are still a good majority of my generation that don't think that we're necessarily being visited by ET right here on planet Earth, but the possibility of there being other intelligent life in the universe is not a question for them anymore. They shrug their shoulders and they continue walking over to their class because they don't a lot of them don't care. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't put food on the table for them. If anything, that's that's what's more important in their life. And I don't necessarily disagree with that aspect, but it's when we consider these mysteries, when we take a deeper dive, we realize that we're just a mere speck in the vastness of the universe. The challenges that we go through, the ideas, the thoughts that we have, they come and go in an instant. But when we consider these aspects, we realize that we're just one tiny little dust piece when it comes to this giant mural of attempting to understand or get a better understanding of our universe and where we fit in. And when we have those thoughts, it takes us away from our mental challenges. It takes us away from these certain feelings that we get for a short period of time, have it be a few minutes, have it be a few days,
Mhm.
right? And so it, in my opinion, looking at these mysteries put things into perspective when it comes to the self.
Yeah, and okay, so you see my shirt, right? Got a little ET in the middle of it. I don't know if you know this, Christina, but on the back of my Jeep, I have a red alien head, stuck on the back window, right? And I don't give a crap. And I know that people see my ET stuff, and I think that maybe, or walk by my car and see whatever, that it may have felt different 5 or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I'm the weird guy, in town. I don't think it's that kind of party anymore.
It's not.
I just don't. And now with Enrico and the did I just say oh, I almost, I almost call him the movie star. Anyways, but anyway, Enrico, if he would have lived just another 20, 30 years, he got really sick really quick. But if he would have just been able to hang out a little while longer and found the count of planets and exoplanets, and that we had a general understanding and ideas of how stars and galaxies were formed and planets, right? But we thought that planets were rare. Okay, and in 1950, when Enrico said this, the general accepted idea was, I wonder if there's another planet outside of our solar system around another star.
That's a really stellar point,
And
Jimmy.
it's a crazy, I mean, that's where the mind was, right? Well, today we now know and understand as fact planets are created next to every star. It's the process of the universe. Therefore, every star in every galaxy, everywhere throughout the universe, are at least one planet. And now, how would Enrico and Edward Teller and Robert Oppenheimer, all of those great minds back then, including Albert Einstein,
Yes.
how would they, Niels Bohr, right? How would they frame it? Would they assume this? No, they wouldn't, and they're smarter than that. They understand how big numbers are, right? And big numbers to a physicist are things with 20 and 30 digits. We you can't comprehend how big of a number that is. A trillion, a trillion, 9, 10, 11 digits long. That's a big number. They're dealing with numbers 3 times that size.
I cannot. I don't. You know
It's
what? That is a superpower in itself. Being super good at math and just attempting to crunch those numbers in your mind, let alone just like on any type of device as well. But Michael, thank you so much. Christina, always remember how good you are. Fantastic podcast and always informative. And at time, you really push my mind to new topics. As you say, always ask questions. I could not agree more with you there, Michael. Always ask questions and don't be satisfied with the answers all the time. Continue searching. And Spectre, thank you so much. Like the band U2, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. See what you did there. Proof of more life in the universe. Maybe we just still don't know how to look or what exactly to look for. Interesting. And for the RV fund. Thank you.
If you know the frustration that has been displayed in social media about NASA's press conference yesterday, where I don't know. Well, I do know actually what the expectations are. Everybody just wants this apparent window of transparency where suddenly NASA is going to go, you know what? There's life out there, and that's what we're searching for, and we're going to find it. We're being visited now. We know this. These are things that we can, that's what people are expecting. That I don't think that's the important part of yesterday's hearing. You know what the important part of yesterday's hearing is? It happened. That's crazy. That's nuts that it just even happened and that these things are being talked about. Now whether or not NASA wants to display proof or NASA needs to debunk or clear the air on certain aspects of this and what we're seeing, let's clear this out. That's not what that is. But, we know that a few percentage points of these 800 cases that we're looking at are truly anomalous. And if you look at just that statement, Christina, going back to Enrico Fermi, if 800, right? And so are they saying that 10, 20, 30 of these cases are crazy town? That's a big number. And we are actually having hearings like this. This was a press conference with the national press coming in and asking these questions. Were you surprised? Again, I don't think Enrico would be saying the same thing today if he was sitting in on that press conference yesterday or he heard what he had heard. But when the statements that were being made yesterday, they were being made because of questions from the press about extraterrestrials. And it was one after another. So you can tell where the media is. You can tell where the interest is. Now, the answers may not have been what everybody wanted to hear, but that press conference actually happened. And do you know what the interest is from the public and how the media treated this press conference? I found it to be extraordinary. It was incredible.
And that's the only way to say the word extraordinary is extraordinary, which I don't see how that's a compliment because it's just like ordinary, but it's extra, like a little touch of like extra spice. I never understood that term. That's just for me personally. But looking at and looking away from, and Jimmy's laughing because it's just one of those words I just
really
don't.
Fun. Yeah. Christina's her vocabulary is great. What I really enjoy about her is how she picks apart words, and we discuss words every day, don't we? We discuss words every day. What did we discuss? What was
the word dyslexia?
What was the word that we discussed today? That was what I forget earlier.
I don't know. Oh, but I was okay. This is a side note. On Tuesday, I was talking about the top 5 reincarnation stories, and I had such a difficult time saying the word familiarity. So I was practicing it after the show. And I'm like, I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna get this word right because it's just like the little things that really bother me.
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday's day.
Thursday's day.
All right, but moving on. So the next one. Yeah. Walking away from the Fermi paradox is the great silence, and it's also
walking away. That's not walking away.
But it's just kind of changing the like a different hypothesis, which is also known as the zoo hypothesis, and it's a speculative concept that attempts to address the Fermi paradox and the apparent absence of contact with ETCs, extraterrestrial civilizations.
Correct.
So it proposes that advanced ETCs exist, but intentionally refrain from making their presence known to humanity. This hypothesis, hypothesis suggests that these civilizations might be observing us, much like a zookeeper observes animals in a zoo without directly interfering or making their existence known. According to the zoo hypothesis, there could be several reasons why ETCs might choose to remain silent and keep their presence hidden from us. These reasons might include a desire to avoid interfering with our natural development, respecting our freedom and autonomy as a species, and even protecting us from potential harm that could arise from contact with advanced civilizations. But I think the biggest one that isn't addressed here is that if your average person were to be in contact with an extraterrestrial, it would be shoot first, ask questions later. There's
Correct.
also that aspect of them, if this is the case, to protect themselves. Because as you can just research humanity in the last, let's just say the last 100 years, okay, there has been significant war. There has been significant bias amongst different cultures, religions, races, and so on, that if something totally different from us, like totally different, were to come, they would be a part of that category of pushing up daisies 6 feet under.
Correct. Now, I would frame the Great Silence as an alternative title to the Fermi paradox. Okay, because you can kind of frame it the same way, and say that technically it would be another name for the Fermi paradox, because the Fermi paradox is merely a mind experiment. That's
Right.
what it is. It causes people to fight and argue and work things out, right?
Which
And
is
I
what people love to do most.
love it, like us on this show. And so, but the Great Silence, you gave three. I'm going to give two additional that are above the three, right?
Oh,
This is always peeling back layers, right? Because I feel that there are two great opposites in the Great Silence. One, the idea that we represent the only intelligence in the universe. And that's insane. That's an insane viewpoint, right? And the second, the opposite of that, despite the increasing range of our extraterrestrial search and the James Webb Space Telescope and TESS and Hubble and everything else, we have allegedly only found silence. And I don't believe that to be true. And that's on the exact opposite. We're going to discuss the wow signal in a second, but fast radio burst, which was a question that was brought up yesterday in the NASA press conference. And I love that, right? That we are getting plenty of noise. I don't think that there is a great silence out there from the universe. I don't. And the next layer to all of this, you brought up the zoo hypothesis, the Great Silence, of course, the Fermi paradox, and then you have quarantine theory, which is another play of the zoo hypothesis, and which states that alien life intentionally, with intention, avoids us.
I
Right?
mean, are they wrong to do so?
And so when you think about what we just went through, 2 years of craziness on this planet. I hate discussing it, and we're not going to do that. But one of the words that was reintroduced into society was quarantine. Right? Okay, 2-week quarantine. All right. You touched a fork. That person touched that fork. Go to your room for 2 weeks. Right. So we understood what quarantine it is and means to us. So with quarantine theory here, just maybe aliens are avoiding us. to allow us to go through our natural evolution, to allow us to have a cultural development, for us to go through our own problems on this planet on our own, and also to avoid, are you ready? It's just my opinion only. Maybe they don't want to get contaminated, right? Maybe ET doesn't want to get COVID or
Well,
the flu.
and a really good no, you bring up a really, really important example. This is true. We can look at the colonists when they came to the United States and interacted with the Native Americans. They got incredibly sick and thousands died because the colonists were giving them blankets, giving them other items that they thought that it was hospitality. The natives were in contact with certain diseases that they've never been in contact before because it wasn't a part of their side of the world,
Yeah, yeah,
and they passed away.
yeah, they wiped them out. They wiped them out, and you know, the Europeans are, have built up immunities to this, but they still carry it, right? And so just maybe ET is cognizant of this, that they understand that there may be pathogens, certain things on this planet that they do not want to come in contact with, and it's really that simple. Now, could it be? Just like any quarantine we impose here on Earth, that you know what I mean? Let's just let's let that thing happen. And there's another part to this. When we go back to, sometimes this is also called the zoo hypothesis, and you brought this up earlier. That they just want to refrain. They know that there's life here, but they just want to hold off on direct contact, because that variant of the zoo hypothesis was originally suggested by former Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT Haystack Observatory scientist John Allen Ball. And what he had said, and this is very interesting, he said that maybe the Earth is a laboratory. There's another, how do you say that word correctly, right? Laboratory.
It sounds better, laboratory, from Dexter's
So,
Laboratory. The cartoon one.
and that's why your generation understands ET. Dexter's Laboratory. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Invader Zim, the Powerpuff Girls. You guys grew up.
Mojo Jojo.
Yeah, Mojo. I love Mojo Jojo. He was cool. Okay, so where Earth maybe is a laboratory, where humanity is actually subjected to experiments by ET, and Earth is the laboratory.
And
Is that a crazy thought to you?
No, when it comes to the UFO community, that is an idea that has been brought up by a handful of people, that we're just mere test subjects. And this kind of fills in potential gaps when it comes to abductions, have it be for cattle or for people. Is it just because we're being herded like animals for their benefit or for their research? We don't know. We can muse about these things because there are countless theories, there are countless hypotheses when it comes to these aspects, but they should all be considered. They should all be placed on the table as a potential answer, but we don't know what's actually going on here. And when it comes to the quarantine theory, it's really interesting, because that means that ET is intentionally isolating humanity from other extraterrestrial intelligence, and or imagine this, Jimmy, this is a super cool thought. What if there's an actual shield over planet Earth, to where all of those signals that we're putting out there, they're not actually reaching anything intelligent, they're just kind of like coming back in, and they're not fully going out, and that's why potentially, maybe that's why we haven't been reached out by some advanced intelligence saying, "Oh, hey buddy, what's going on there, neighbor, how's it going?"
You're one episode too far into Skinwalker Ranch. That's exactly where but listen, that point is so important. Christina, I'll sum it up like this. You go to another planet, right? And you are told, yeah, it's got a breathable atmosphere. Do you step off the ship and just take off your helmet and take a deep breath? No, you don't. Why would you? Why would you know? You need to keep that quarantine mentality. Keep the helmet on. Keep yourself sealed up. You have no idea what you are exposed. Yeah, okay, it may have a breathable atmosphere, but what about everything else that comes along with it? You need to study everything there. And I think to make sure that you just don't die or bring something back to Earth or contaminate the rest of the spaceship. Have you thought about the ISS, right?
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
ISS. It's bad enough to fly on a commercial airliner because you get off of the airplane, you're walking through the airport, and you go, I got a cold. That didn't take but 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
because that air is recycled.
that's recycled. Now, on the International Space Station, somebody gets a cold up there. Somebody something is brought. Think about that. How sick everybody would get, and there's nothing you can do. You can't even escape, right? The same concerns would be ET visiting this planet, or if we visited another planet, you go down and you do your thing. You walk around, right? You keep your helmet on, but you walk around. What is on the outside? And then you get back into the ship. What are you bringing back onto the ship with? Of course, you're going to clean and everything. That doesn't mean anything. It's not a guarantee of anything. So the quarantine, the zoo hypothesis, these aspects of the Fermi paradox, I think, are all extremely valid, right? Where everybody just expects, ET to just step off of the ship and say, hello to everybody. And I think that you would have general concerns about pathogens, viruses, and things that just aren't going to agree with your biology. It's really that simple. But everybody just wants everything to just to move forward. And why isn't this happening? We have to really stop and consider things. And the same way that we consider things here on this planet, I think it applies across the board.
But then we can also dive into the possible idea of people that have had experiences or people that have claimed to have seen an ET right here on planet Earth. How would those stories, those experiences fit into any of these theories? Or would it just say, well, maybe there have been some aliens that have been here since almost the beginning, since the time of humanity, and they were
Yes.
able to adapt. But then
Yes.
what about the ones that are supposedly visiting, or people have seen UFOs and there's like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, there's aliens on that craft. How are they getting here? How are they
Yes.
doing that?
No, you're correct on everything that you just said. So let's flip it around 180 degrees and look at it like this. And I'll keep it very, very simple. If somebody is really interested in this planet and they have focused on us, which I absolutely believe that to be true, that means they have been studying us for a long time. And that includes our atmosphere and our biology and our plant life. And again, back to pathogens, all the way down to the microbial level of things, right? Okay. So they understand all of that. They understand our languages and our philosophies as well as our tendencies of doing things. So they would have studied us for a long time. So when they do get here, they're immunized, right? They have taken. I remember when I moved to Panama. Okay, when I moved to Panama, I'm moving to Panama. You know what I had to do? I had to
Mm,
go to the hospital and get a bunch of shots. Right?
yeah.
That's it. That's it. I didn't even ask what the shots were for, but I was okay. And ET would do this if they're studying this planet and has been here many, many, many times, then they understand all of these things, including the boundaries of languages and cultures and our tendencies and our consciousness and how we think. Have you seen? I'm going to bring this up. This is an amazing movie, 65. Have you seen it yet? It just came out. Have you seen it?
I have
Okay.
not.
I'm not going to spoil, no spoilers here. Okay. But it's amazing. 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit this planet and wiped out the dinosaurs. Right? Okay.
Mm.
Right. We know this, right? Great extinction event, 65 million years ago. The movie is about 65 million years ago. Dude, human, flying, spacecraft, got some people on board, gets hit by an asteroid and crashes onto a planet. And on this planet, he's fighting dinosaurs, right? Prehistoric, he's trying to survive. Turns out it's Earth. Dun, dun, dun. 65 million years ago. His spacecraft crashes into a mesa in Utah.
And it sounds like the Twilight Zone and the movie Jumanji had a baby, and it created 65.
Yeah. So go and watch. I'm not saying anything else about the movie. You know this in the beginning, how this is set up. But the idea behind that, let's just, you kind of unpack that for a minute. If ET has been visiting this planet for a long time, then they understand, right, the dangers and things of the dangers of contaminants. So I think that takes that part of it out, and the other parts, the ETCs that are just doing a drive-by and logging in, right? This is an uncharted planet, right? And we're giving it a number, and it's going into the logbook, and they split. They take some samples of the atmosphere and whatever else, and they're gone, and they're going on to the next planet. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about those that have been visiting this planet for a long time, and they understand things. So, yeah.
And
that's my take.
Cecil's asking, where can we find said movie, Jimmy?
65. There's a new thing called the internet, and when you get the internet, it's incredible. They have another thing there. It's called Amazon Prime, where you can order. I know. Just relax. You can order a movie and have it play in your home.
Wow. Okay, so you can find 65 on Amazon Prime. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, you know about this Amazon Prime?
I've only heard of the legends of it.
I know. It's real though.
Oh, okay.
It's real. It's going to take off. Buy stock. Buy Amazon stock.
Well, one thing that's pretty mysterious, maybe a little bit more mysterious than Amazon Prime, is the idea of, and we've heard this 1,000 times, what came first, a chicken or the egg?
Right.
But that can be applied to space as well. Mm-hmm. What came first, a black hole or the galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. All right. I've got strong opinions here. What's yours? I just want to know yours.
Well, I'm gonna give the black and white version.
No, what's your opinion?
Well, for those that don't, how can I give my opinion and people don't even have a foundation of what we're talking about?
You just laid it out. What came first, galaxy or the black hole? That's it. Okay, so what came first to you, Christina?
I don't know. I have no idea, because even when it comes to the idea of the chicken or the egg, I don't know the answer.
I still I don't have the answer to that one. I have the answer to what came first, galaxy or black hole, but chicken or the egg, that's a tough one, isn't it? That's a tough one. Also, excellent pronunciation of the name.
I got it right because someone at Starbucks spelled it the way that it was sound and he posted it on Discord. And I'm like, I'm going to remember that forever because that person at Starbucks had the same issue as me. Because I knew a girl named Cecile and it was spelled just like that. And then I said it, and then you were like, no, that's wrong. And I said, I'm just going to call you Mr. Webb for the rest of my life. But then I saw your Starbucks order and I'm like, okay, I got this.
You know what happened to me last night? Same thing, sort of, on Fade to Black, right? So last night I'm doing an AMA. And one of the Fadernauts has been with me for years, Renee Cruz, right? Okay. I also have Renee Newman, producer, with me over at Fade to Black. Has been with me for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years. And so Renee, to me, is a woman's name. But I'm not looking at how it's spelled.
Right.
Right. So Renee Cruz, so last night, and I was cracking a couple of jokes. This is me being the doofus that I am. And I get this email from Renee. By the way, I just want to let you know, this is during the show. I'm reading it. Renee Cruz is a guy. I went, oh, what? All of these years, and I, and I had to eat a big slice of humble pie last night. It was horrible to me, and I'm still apologizing for it, and I will apologize publicly for years to come. I just Renee, right? It's just something that, and you cannot.
Yeah, because one has the female usually has two E's at the end, and the male version is pronounced like Rennie. Usually it can also be pronounced Renee as well. But yeah, it's an androgynous first name for sure. But back to black holes and the galaxy. We took a little sidetrack there. Thank you, Cecil, for that. But when it comes to this, the question of whether the black hole or the galaxy came first is an interesting one, analogous to the chicken and the egg dilemma. So in this context, the chicken represents the galaxy while the egg represents the black hole. In reality, the relationship between black holes and galaxies is complex and intertwined. It is generally believed that galaxies and their central black holes evolved together through a process known as coevolution. This means that as galaxies form and evolve, their central regions can potentially host the growth of black holes, while the presence of black holes can also influence the structure and evolution of galaxies. So, according to current understanding, galaxies form through the gravitational collapse of cosmic gas and the subsequent accumulation of stars and other interstellar matter. As galaxies evolve, they can develop central regions where the density of matter is high, allowing for the formation of black holes. These black holes can grow through the accretion of surrounding matter, such as gas and stars. Now, on the other hand, Jimmy, black holes can also influence the growth and evolution of galaxies because the energy released by black holes, particularly during active phases of accretion, can affect the surrounding gas and stars, and it can regulate star formation, trigger powerful outflows, and shape the distribution of matter within the galaxy. This interplay between black holes and galaxies is known as a feedback process. Therefore, it is difficult to determine which came first, the black hole or the galaxy, as their formation and evolution, are intertwined, and the presence of black holes is intimately connected to the development of galaxies, and galaxies provide the environment for the formation of growth of black holes. So what came first?
Okay. Do you buy what you just tried to sell?
Yes.
Okay. I don't.
And why not? Share us your thoughts.
I believe in this case, the defense's argument is wrong. But let me now, and again, that is so well thought out, and I understand all of it. I do, and how it would play out, but it's wrong. So let's go to the simplest idea here. Okay. All right. Stars are created first
Mm.
before the black hole, before the galaxy. So it's stars first. And when you have okay, so we start with the micro here will be the star. Okay. Black holes are the finish. That's the end. That's the dessert with your port wine, right? That's the black hole is the finish. But at the very beginning, the micro of all of it, you have gases in the universe. Galaxies aren't all created equal. Okay, not all galaxies have a black hole. We think that most do, but when you have a system of stars, and before that, you have stellar remnants, you have interstellar gas, you have dust, you have dark matter, you have gravity that is disturbing all of that and compressing things together. Then you have the creation of a star, and then around that, the dust rings that congeal and mud balls like you mud pies when you were a kid. Planets then form, and that is rotating around. Eventually the age of the star and the what is inside of that star and its energy is going to burn out and compress, and gravity takes over, and that's where the black hole is created. But during all of that time, through all of that, that's where the galaxy comes into play. So as these gases are swirling, right? And you have different types of galaxies. But when all of this is going on, then the black hole is created. So it's not the chicken or the egg in this case. All right. What came first are gases, interstellar gases, gravity, dark matter in the vastness and the vacuum of space. And that's when your star is created. That's through that collection of gases, the swirling of stuff, and then your galaxy is created. Then you get your black hole. There are so many different versions of galaxies just in general, Christina, and we picture. I know I sound like some astrophysicist that I'm studied and I'm degreed. No, I just play one on TV. I just study a lot of this stuff. And when you look at the Hubble images and you look at the James Webb Space Telescope images and the deep field imaging of the universe, and you see all of those galaxies that are out there, you see that they are shaped differently. They're all not typical. I mean, sure, a lot of them are disk, just a simple, flat, round, very consistent disk. All right, you have those. You have lenticular galaxies, like lenticular clouds that we have here on this planet. Some people confuse those for flying saucers, but stacked disk, we have those. We have spiral galaxies like our Milky Way. We thought that there were 5 or 6 spirals with our Milky Way. Now they're saying that there may only be 4 spiral rings coming out. There's anemic galaxies. There's little tiny dwarf galaxies. There's puff galaxies that don't even make any sense. They're just puff. They're like cotton balls, and they don't have a shape to them. We have elliptical galaxies that are long and thin. We have irregular Andromeda. Look at Andromeda. Andromeda, which is right next to the Milky Way. Our Milky Way is consistent and beautiful. Andromeda looks like somebody regurgitated, vomited. It's just like blah. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So some would call that an irregular galaxy. We have peculiar galaxies. We have ring galaxies. Rings. Oh, I don't have a ring. Oh, here we go. Look, I'll just pick up my little ET keychain. We have ring galaxies out there that are shaped like that. So all of this is going on before the creation of a black hole. The black hole is the dessert at the end, and I think it takes a long time for it to form.
Can never go wrong with dessert. Preferably vanilla ice cream for me. But before we move on, and I lost the comment. Oh no, I want to go back. There it is. Okay, Joe has a good music taste because Black Hole Sun is a bomb song, but I like the remix version by Soundgarden. I did want to mention that. That's some good.
I think Soundgarden did write that song. Oh,
No, the original is Chris Cornell. I had to look. I had to Google it. I wasn't sure.
Chris Cornell is the singer for Soundgarden.
Okay, thank you for making me look dumb on my show, Jimmy. But yeah, no, but you're absolutely no, it's fine. It's fine. But it's a great song.
No,
I didn't know who the band was, but I
know
damn
how
it.
old you're letting me know how old I am. You're just right there. Did everybody just pick up on that? Whoa. Yeah, I toured with Soundgarden and Chris Cornell.
Well, there you go. And I called him Colonel. Well, you know what? Like also the word Colonel, there's no R in it, and there's all these L's, but it's not pronounced Colonel. And that word, along with Ouija, those bother me to an extreme.
Colonel makes no sense. It's Colonial Sanders, right? Right? Am I wrong? Colonel. God, please.
That one really bothers me.
Yeah, it bothers me to no end. See, these are the conversations. People think that you and I talk about UFOs on the phone. No, we talk about
empanadas, other foods, and bands.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on. Okay.
Okay. So now, does your opinion change though? Now that I helped you understand a little bit more about the creation of galaxies and stars and how that goes down. Does your opinion change, or do you have, what came first, galaxies or black holes?
I still don't know.
I just told you. You're supposed to go to church. You schooled me today. Galaxies.
You schooled me with the band, okay, Soundgarden, and telling me the lead singer, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough for a day. But moving on to Sounds of the Universe. This one, while it's not necessarily a big mystery, it was one when we did last week's show, I said we will be doing a part 2. If there's anything that you would like to have us talk about, write it in the comments. Well, we did get one comment by a fan and by a listener that said, the Sounds of the Universe is pretty fantastic. And I have a few videos, of course, with audio, because if you haven't heard the sounds that our planets in the solar system make, it's unbelievable. And I also have a sound of a black hole as well. So I'm pretty excited to share that with you.
What? Okay, let's go.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go.
So the first recordings or interpretations of electromagnetic waves from space that were converted into audible frequencies for human perception were made in the mid 20th century. And in 1962, Bell Telephone Laboratories scientists Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson accidentally discovered the cosmic microwave background, a CMB radiation, which is the residual radiation from the early universe. And the CMB is not sound itself, but a form of electromagnetic radiation. However, the discovery of the CMB provided significant evidence for the Big Bang theory that allows scientists to transform the CMB into sound waves. And then in 2003, NASA released a sonification of the CMB called the Sound of the Universe. I have it for you. And it was created by converting the fluctuations in temperature and density of the CMB into sound waves, producing a faint low frequency hum that represents the primordial sound of the universe. Now, let's get into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because people that have listened to it, and again, I'm going to share that with you rather shortly. People that have listened to it say it sounds like the Om, the cosmic hum, or the universal sound, which has a spiritual and meditative significance in various cultures and practices. It is a sacred symbol and mantra in Hinduism, Buddhism, and other Eastern traditions. The sound is believed to represent the vibrations of the universe and the primordial sound from which all creation emerged. So when this was captured back in 2003, not everyone, and you'll be able to decide on what you think you're actually listening to and how it sounds, but there were a handful of people that said, this sounds like the Om. So I'm going to go ahead and play that for you. It's about a 30-second clip. Here we go.
I
And
love,
that,
I love
oh,
that. I love
so
that.
cool.
I love that. I love that. It's incredible. The CMB. Okay, it was discovered by accident.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best part.
I worked at I worked for Bell Labs for 3 years. Okay,
Doing
and
what?
I was an artist. Yeah, 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 for Bell Labs, and they worked. There were Bell Labs all across the country. I worked at Bell Labs Indianapolis. They worked at Bell Labs Homedale in New Jersey. Okay, and they had this a radio antenna there, and it was called the Homedale. Man, let's just call it the dish, the Homedale antenna, the Homedale dish, and so they're studying stuff, but they're and they hear noise in the system. Right, and they're like, man, what? So they literally replaced all of the wiring, all of the cables, all of the electronics, and the noise was still there. It got to the point, Christina, I'm not making this up. They replaced everything so that imagine taking every part on your car and replacing it. And now you've got a brand new version of the car sitting there, but with no original parts. Right? Okay. That's what they did with this antenna. And the noise was still there. And that's how they discovered the CMB. Oh, it's not coming from us, right? It's not coming from our equipment. It's coming from up there. And so that's how the CMB was discovered. Now, in that background radiation, this is where the ideas came for the Big Bang and the Big Bang theory.
Right.
I disagree with it. Again, we talked about this last week. We don't need to get into any of that now, but the CMB itself is the center part of the evidence of the Big Bang for the origins of the universe. In many of the Big Bang models, when you go back to the earliest periods of the formations of the universe was filled with an opaque fog, dense hot plasma, subatomic particles. Again, back to what I was just talking about, the formations of galaxies. But that's what the CMB brought us. And that's kind of where we get that 13.8 billion year number now, too, as well. But all of it discovered by accident. And that's and to think about how much we have learned about the universe, the size of the universe, the observable universe, the age of the universe, the directions of things, dark matter, dark energy, the expansion, all of this. This stuff happens by accident. Edwin Hubble discovering the expansion of the universe. he's just looking through a telescope and looking at negatives. He wasn't looking for stuff that was moving. At that point, the universe was static, and that's what Einstein thought and everybody else did. By accident, boom, we find out that the universe is expanding. And again, quite by accident, two Bell Labs physicists are trying to fix the equipment in their laboratory, and they discover the cosmic background radiation, CMB. Crazy. And so there you go. Even though I don't agree with the Big Bang Theory, I'm not a physicist, but to me, it just doesn't. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense.
I also have video and audio of some of the planets in our solar system and the sounds that they make. Are you ready to listen to it?
Is this the way we're going to segue into the wow signal? Are we going to segue? Are you going to, as a host, is this what you're doing? You're leading us down towards the wow signal?
You know, you never reveal a magician's tricks.
Okay, all right. I'll take it back. I'll speak backwards, and you want.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go. Let me hear some planets.
Earth, Mercury, and the sun.
Man, I love that.
It's so cool. And for those that want to see that full video, that link will be in the description box below. I fully recommend it because it shows all of the planets in our solar system and the sounds that they make. Some of them sound like radio frequencies that are not properly in the right channel.
Right.
And then there are others that sound a lot more soothing. Like for me personally, I really like the way that the sun sounded and Venus. I
Yeah,
find them very calming, very relaxing. And
right.
then the Earth is all hustle and bustle and just extra noise. And I'm thinking, no.
I thought the Earth was going to be like right. that would have been more correct. Yeah, Venus though. I'm kind of digging the Venus. Kind of digging the
So
Venus.
nice. Yeah.
Was cool too. Some was pretty cool. Very interesting. And have you heard? Let's light up the chat. Have you heard that our moon rings like a bell?
We did a whole show on the mysteries of the moon, and we covered that little detail, Jimmy, where NASA, they crashed. Which rocket was it? But it was one of them. And they said that it rang like a bell, and that was in the paperwork.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty weird.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's the Death Star. Do you think that the moon was like towed here? Right. What if it's artificial? I mean, just what if? I'm okay with it. It wouldn't, nothing shocks me anymore.
Feel that.
Have you seen the movie Moonfall?
Yes, and we talked about it when we did the episode of The Mysteries of the Moon. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie.
I thought it was pretty good. I watched it a few times actually. Everybody, that movie I was talking about earlier, it's 65. Let me type this in. It's not anything but that. It's 65, not spelled out. It's 65.
There it is for those that want to catch that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. It's on pitch. It's on pitch. All right, let's oh man. Can we go can we jump into the wow signal?
Let's go for it. Take it away.
Okay, the wow signal, we know so much about it now. And if you've seen the movie Contact, which is exactly, it's kind of the idea of what we're talking about here. There it is, the wow signal. The wow signal was a strong narrowband radio signal detected on August 15th, 1977 by Ohio State University's Big ear radio telescope, which, by the way, is not in operation anymore. And I'll swing back to that. Big ear telescope right here in the United States, then used to support the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The signal appeared to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. Now, why is that special?
I don't know. Tell me.
Black holes.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Okay. And it had all of the expected hallmarks of extraterrestrial origin. Now, before Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, also very good. So, astronomer Jerry R. Ehman and Eamon Ehman. Oh, I'm going to talk a lot about him. He discovered the anomaly a few days later because he's looking at the printout of that. So they've got this is 1977, so they had a pretty advanced computer for the time, but the computer is doing the analysis of the radio telescope's collection data. All right, and that's the sequence that was spit out. I'll get back to that in a second. The radio telescope itself, Big Ear, was only able to compensate in one direction. Everything else, it couldn't go side to side. And the Earth is rotating, right? It's doing its 24-hour cycle. So therefore, the telescope itself, if it locked onto a signal, couldn't do anything about it. Hang on. Dun, dun, dun. Right. I have a cough. Hold on. So, had a 72-second window. Because of the Earth's rotation and the way that the telescope is looking out into space, it's moving, right? So, whatever was there, it's not like it could have automatically, as Earth was rotating and stay you know what I mean? And stay, no, it wasn't the case. So we only had a 72-second grab of this. Anything that it would have picked up would have been 72 seconds. All right. Or 76 seconds, 72 seconds. So Jerry discovers this while he's reviewing the data that you're seeing now. And he was so impressed by the result that he circled it, as you can see here. And it was called 6EQUJ5, which you can see there too as well. And he wrote, "Wow!" exclamation point. The entire signal sequence lasted for those 72 seconds that I just talked about, because that window for Big Ear that was it. That's all that Big Ear could observe. Right? And never detected again.
That's the sad part about it.
Poor Jerry, right? You know what he was doing every day?
Checking.
He's checking, man. He's going out to his telescope, pointing to that same spot in the sky. And so was everybody else on planet Earth, by the way. All the other radio telescopes and everything, everybody's pointing towards Sagittarius, hoping to pick it up again. It did not. But why is it so significant? Although the WOW signal had no modulation, which is what you were just playing with, the sounds of the planets, right? That's modulation and converting signals into modulation, into tones. There was no modulation, right? You want to be able to convert stuff into radio waves. It still, to this day, remains the strongest candidate for extraterrestrial radio transmissions, but it's never happened again. We've never had something that complete. And here's the reasons why. In a 1959 paper, Cornell University physicist Robert Morrison and Giuseppe Caccioni had speculated that any extraterrestrial civilization attempting to communicate with us via radio signals would do so using the frequency of 1,420 megahertz. Not because of marijuana, not that 420. It was because of hydrogen. Okay. Hydrogen is the most common element in the universe. And ET would know that. And ET would know the frequency of that, which is 1,420 megahertz. And that's what they would use to contact us. Now, this is where the whole story for the WOW signal gets nuts. John Krause, the director of the observatory, gave the value of the WOW signal. Are you ready? 1,420 hertz. What? Well, it was actually 1,420.3556, right? And in 1994, a summary written that happened in 1974, and that was written for Carl Sagan. However, Jerry Amon, who discovered the WOW signal right there at Ohio State, he gave a 1998 update to 1,420.455. It's hydrogen. It's at now, out of all of the frequencies out there, when you go back to 1959 and Cornell University and the suggestion of 1420, that's what ET would use. Well, that's what the signal was coming in from the WOW signal. The signal's frequency of 1,420 megahertz is also part of, are you ready? I can't wait for you to respond to this. It's part of the protected spectrum, Christina. It's a frequency range reserved for astronomical research in which terrestrial transmissions from Earth are forbidden. We're not allowed to use that frequency. So what was coming in at that frequency? Again, going back to 1959, Cornell University said hydrogen, that's what we're going to do. So what do we send out, right? Or where do we listen from? What is the critical frequency? 1,420 megahertz. Yeah. Yeah, which is the WOW signal. And this is not coincidence. And it's not chance. And that's why the signal is so important. Of all the times that the signal, now, okay. Oh, I know that we're out of time, but listen to me. We don't know how long that broadcast was. We only have that because of the 72 seconds that the radio telescope was scanning the sky. That's it. So we don't know. It could have lasted for 30 minutes, could have lasted for hours. We don't know. The Earth is moving and the telescope moved with it. We were only able to pick it up and detect it for those 72 seconds. It's just incredible. Yeah. I think it was real. I think it was actual. It's just too bad we didn't get a recording and everything else. You know, it came and went. And it was never repeated.
And if you enjoy the case, the experience, I guess, when it comes to the WOW signal, the movie Contact is a really, really great movie that touches on it, and then it takes a creative path a little later throughout the movie. But it is really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I watched it. Gosh, a few years ago now, and I need to definitely rewatch that one and then put 65 on my list as well. And if you haven't watched Moonfall, that was also a pretty fun movie when it comes to the ideas of the moon.
That's a good weekend right there. That's a good weekend. Arrival, Moonfall, 65, Contact, and you got to do a couple of Spielbergs in there too as well. So whether it's
Father Ted. You can find that on YouTube too.
Father Ted. You wore me out with that. I spent 6 months of my life on Father Ted. Yeah. Funny show. But no, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or maybe War of the Worlds, and maybe Independence Day. That's a good weekend. Do like 2 movies a day, get 6 in for me, it's 3 days.
That's true. You have an extended weekend, and I'm pretty jelly about that, Jimmy.
Well,
But
real quick, I want to go back to 65 for a second. Um, 65 reminded me immediately of Pete Kelsey and my show this week with him from Skinwalker Ranch and talking about the mesa and what could be under it. You and I have been talking about this constantly, and the TV show Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And the way that 65 is written, go watch the movie. I'm not going to give any of. In the very, very beginning, you find out what's actually in play here. So there's no spoilers. But if something visited here 65 million years ago, what evidence would we have of it? It would be covered, like the mesa at Skinwalker Ranch, right? It would be under strata, millions of years of overlays of stuff. So that's why you need to go and watch. Just go watch 65. And if you don't go, Christina and Jimmy have been talking about this a lot lately. Go and watch 65 and tell me that Hollywood doesn't listen to Christina Gomez.
no, that's not the case. But
I'm
we
serious.
we are almost hold on.
They listen to us. They do. They listen to us. They listen to the community.
Well, I hope they send me a ramen package or something if they're going to take what we cover right here, make it into a movie. I would like some compensation, and I would like a ramen basket. Thank you for those that are listening in. But we get to 200 likes before the show ends. We just need 31 more likes to get to 200. It really lets us know that you're enjoying the show, and it also helps the YouTube algorithm as well. Jimmy, out of all the cases and all the things that we covered today, what was your favorite?
Fermi.
That's a pretty good one.
But I got a case of ramen this weekend gifted to me, and had I known, I can't remember the brand, and solid red with a logo on the top, like you can't see through it. Solid red packet. Do you know what it is?
No.
Really good. Really good, but I didn't use the flavor pack.
It's best not to. That stuff is so bad. I mean, everything about ramen is probably so bad for you. Those instant noodles, but gosh darn, is it delicious?
So this ramen was so good, so good, so good. So anyway, I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to you. It's really good.
Post it on Twitter.
Yeah. What? No, I'm not going to post it.
So we can all see the ramen that you're talking about. But Jimmy, thank you so much.
Not gonna do it. What am I doing on the show tonight? Do you know?
I don't know. You tell me.
I'm doing I got Max Hawthorne tonight. I'm doing mega sharks and megalodons.
That's fun.
Yeah. I just
did Shark Week.
No, but the breaking news about the Titanic, they just imaged a necklace, right? A gold necklace with a megalodon tooth on it. And it's down and it's inside of the Titanic. And then also breaking news this week about a megalodon tooth that was found on a beach, and the lady photographed it and went back and it was gone. Yeah, it was big too. It was like giant. So anyway, that's what I'm doing tonight. It's Shark Week on Fade to Black. Bye, everybody. Get to 200.
Let's do it. Thank you so much. What a great show. It's always so much fun doing these shows. And you enjoyed part one so much that we went ahead and did a part two when it comes to the mysteries of the universe. If you want to continue this conversation, bring it over to the Discord server where we have 1,700 other like-minded members. Share your thoughts, your ideas, your opinions, your experiences, and more. I know one of the mods will place that link in the live chat for those that want to be a part of the Discord server if you are not already. there's a lot of funny gifs and memes, but also some very intellectual conversations as well when it comes to that server. Follow me on Twitter at eyes_on the skies for all of my updates and news, because tomorrow for Weekly Strange News, it'll be at 12 p.m. PST instead of 3 p.m. PST. So make sure to hit the notification bell on YouTube so that you do not miss that live show. We're going to be giving back to you, so someone will be able to win a Starbucks or Amazon gift card. And we're upping up the ante this week. And I'll explain to you why tomorrow. So again, that's going to be at 12 p.m. PST instead of 3 p.m. PST. If you're enjoying all the content that you're seeing right here on this channel, consider being a Patreon supporter. All the funding goes straight to the channel, a little bit to Puck, and to the RV Fund, where I'll be traveling the United States, hitting all the UFO and paranormal hotspots, documenting it, and taking you on the journey with me. That is it for today. I will see all of you tomorrow. Comments below, what was your favorite thing that we covered today? I do read all of the comments. I'll catch you tomorrow. Be safe, and remember, keep your eyes on the skies.